What's up, everybody? Tim here. And today I'm going to be talking about what it's like to take a long trip on the Greyhound bus. I'm going to talk about this because a few people have actually hit me up and asked me this question. They said, they were about to take a trip on the Greyhound, pretty long trip, how is it? What can I expect? So, me personally, I've taken long trips on the Greyhound many times. The longest I've taken has been 3 days, but I've actually done this 3 or 4 times. And actually, I think the longest trip you can take on the Greyhound continuous in the U.S. is like somewhere around 3 days. I mean, if you were to go from one point to the other, that's about the longest trip you're going to take is 3 days. And I really feel like you're pushing the levels of human endurance if you were to stay on the bus any longer. So I feel kind of qualified to make this video. But yeah, what is it like taking a long-term trip on the Greyhound? Well, it's kind of the same but different than taking a short trip. Um, First and foremost, when you're taking a long trip on the Greyhound, is your ticket. If you're used to taking short trips, you might have just one tear off on your ticket. You give it to the driver, they give you the receipt back. You can throw that out the window, you don't really need it. But when you're taking a long trip, you're going to have several different tear offs inside your ticket. When you get your ticket initially from the ticket counter, it's going to look like a book. I mean, it's going to be thick, and the longer your trip, the thicker it's going to be. And you need every single page in that ticket book to advance. And so it is of most importance that you keep up with your ticket and keep up with every single page of your ticket book. I've seen people get halfway through the trip and lose their ticket book or lose one page of the ticket, and then they were just stranded where they were at. If you lose the whole book, well, of course you're stranded. You got to pay the rest of the way. If you lose the next page, say you're in Atlanta and you're going to North Carolina, then you're going down, somewhere else, up somewhere else. If you lose the page from Atlanta to North Carolina, even if you have the North Carolina to whatever page, they're going to make you pay that middle page, even though they see that you paid for it and you had no. If you don't have that page that says from this bus station to this one, they're going to make you pay to get to the next one. So it's utmost importance to keep up with your ticket. That's number one. Me personally, I keep it in one of my front pockets. I don't trust it in my back pocket. I don't trust it in my luggage. And I check it every time I go in the bathroom. I come out, I check my ticket. Time I get off the bus, I check my ticket. Just always make sure you have it, and always make sure too, when you first get your ticket, go through and make sure you have a continuous trip. I have seen times where Greyhound messed up and you paid for a ticket from here to there, and halfway through they had missed one of the connections. So make sure that all your connections meet up. You have a ticket from this station to this one to this one to this one, all the way through your final destination, and then hold on to that ticket. Your ticket is your life, basically. Excuse me. Another important thing when you're taking a long trip is your baggage. When you're taking a short trip, a lot of times you just have carry-on. You take it on there with you. You take it off with you. Even if you have checked bags that go under the bus, you watch them put it on. You're just going right up the road. If you don't really change buses, it's not a big deal. When you get off, it's right there. When you take a long trip, your baggage is going to change from bus to bus to bus to bus, and the rules are going to be different at different stations. At some stations, they tell you to get off, wait behind the line, wait for them to take the bags out, come up, claim your bag. At other stations, and depending on what's happening with the bus you're on and the connection, they'll tell you to just go inside and your luggage will be put on the next bus for you. And so it's important to A, listen to what the driver says about your luggage, and B, me personally, I always watch my luggage. If I have to claim it, I'm right there, I claim it, I get it. Even if they say they're going to put it on the next bus for me, I stand out by the bus and watch them put my luggage on the next bus. Or if I can't stand out there, some stations you got to be inside. I'll stand as close to the door as I can and watch my luggage, or I'll go to the smoking area and peek around the corner. But I always make sure they have my luggage because I've seen people's luggage get left. Excuse me. And this also ties in with the tip I used in my other video. I'll put a link to it in the description box and on the screen right here. But my other video, tips on riding the Greyhound bus. If you haven't watched it, check it out. But I mentioned putting something on your luggage that distinguishes it from kind of a distance for anyone else. Me personally, I take like a white Walmart bag or some other grocery store bag, and I tie it around the top of my luggage, and I can see that from all the way down the station. And so I kind of know which bag is mine. Or I take a piece of just regular like printer paper, and I cut it into 5 pieces and I tape them all over my bag. It looks very tacky and stupid, but I know my bag from far away, and so not only does it help me when I'm claiming it, but I also can look out the window and see have they put my bag on the right bus. So when you're taking a long-term trip, pay a little more attention to your luggage, because it can happen that you get halfway across the country and your luggage is on the other side of the country. And trust me, if you think airlines are bad about getting your luggage back, you don't want to have to deal with Greyhound getting your luggage back. So yeah, tickets important, luggage is important. Also, when you're taking a long-term trip, you're going to have lots of connections. And if when you first purchase the ticket, if you did it online, which I recommend, do it online, do it early, it's cheaper. But it will tell you all your connections, different places you're going to stop. It'll tell you your transfers. I recommend studying these and learning the places you're going to be stopping, learning the connections, and paying attention to the times. Because it'll tell you on your ticket when you're supposed to arrive at a station and when your next bus is supposed to leave. If the times, a lot of times, typically you'll have 30 minutes to an hour if you have a transfer. Just regular connections aren't that bad. There's a lot of stations you'll go to and you'll get off and you'll be there for an hour, then you'll get back on the same bus. These are, these kind of connections, not a big deal. They'll actually give you a reboarder ticket so that you'll get back on the bus first to claim your old seat. So those type of connections are great, because the next leg of the trip you're gonna have the same seat, and if you had a good seat, it's cool. You don't have to worry about where you're gonna sit. Transfers are where you kind of need to pay attention, because that means you're coming off one bus, going to the station, and getting on another bus. And typically you'll have an hour. Actually those times can span. Typically, I found you have anywhere from 30 minutes to how many ever hours. I think the longest I ever had, I had a 9-hour layover in Denver overnight, which was an ordeal, but I got through it. But your transfers, sometimes you will have transfers that are pretty close. Like a 30-minute transfer, layover then transfer seems like a while, but if you think about traffic and things like that, a lot of times you'll be pulling into the station 5 minutes before your other bus is pulling out. And if you're not conscious of this, and you're just getting off the bus and you're getting your baggage and then you want to go get something to eat, and that bus can pull out without you knowing it. So always be conscious of the times on your transfers. If it's getting close, if you're on a bus, your bus is supposed to be there at noon and your other bus leaves at 12:45, but the bus you're on is running late and it's 12:30 and y'all haven't got to the station, you need to be mindful of this, and you need to, a lot of times the drivers will address this because they drive these same routes every day. They know if the buses are late and when the other buses leave. A lot of times they'll address it. If they don't, get up there and ask the driver, hey, you think we're going to make it on time? One of the things I've personally had to do was get online on my phone on the Greyhound app, because I was on a bus that got caught up in traffic going into Atlanta and I missed my transfer. And so I actually had got on my phone and I realized that the next bus was 2 hours later. So as soon as I got off, I ran to the ticket counter and I got a bus on that bus that was 2 hours later. And I had to sit in Atlanta for 2 hours, but I knew I was going to be on the next bus. Whereas the one after that was like 8 hours later. If I hadn't been paying attention like that, I might have had to sit in Atlanta for another 10 hours because there was limited seats on the bus I got on. So always be mindful of your transfers, the times they're leaving, what places they're going, because a lot of times the city you're going to, they may not call it over the PA. So try to look at the other cities that bus is going through. So when they call the bus to so and so, you can figure out what bus you need to be on. And as always, if you have any questions, ask the driver, ask the baggage guy, ask anybody at the Greyhound station. They do this every day. They know all the answers. Different cities, they're a little nicer than different cities, but if you have questions, you can eventually get an answer. But like I said, connections and transfers are very important. So pay attention to your ticket and where you're going to be going and when. Speaking of connections, a lot of times when you're taking a long-term trip on the Greyhound, if you're going to be on sometimes you'll be on a bus that you'll be on there 8 hours, and so they'll stop not only at stations, but they'll stop at like little gas stations and Burger Kings and things like that for you to get on, get off, get something to eat, stretch your legs, use the bathroom. If the driver says 20 minutes, be back in like 15, because you will get left. Yeah, like the drivers don't, some of them are nice and wait, but I've seen people left, and I've seen people have to run and go around the parking lot and jump out on the road to stop the bus. So when you're stopping at these places, be mindful of how long you got to stop there, because it's not fair for people to have to wait on you when they've got connections that they have to make. It's not fair for someone to miss their bus because you wanted to stay in the 7-Eleven, a little longer. So yeah, pay attention. But yeah, they do stop. This is a big question people have. How often does the bus stop? How often do I get something to eat? It's not as often as it might be if you're used to traveling in a car and stopping whenever you want, but usually every 2-3 hours, somewhere in there, they'll stop. And if nothing else, it might be a 10-minute stop at some podunk station where at least you can get out, and if you smoke a cigarette, or just stretch your legs. And they try to make it to where there's food stops along the way, so you won't starve. There will be times when you're thirsty or something, you didn't plan it right. There's been times when I was on the bus and I would have killed for Coke or water, but I had another 3 hours to wait, but you get through it. But that's another thing about looking at your ticket and seeing the stops and trying to plan out when you're gonna eat, things like that. And keep in mind that a lot of Greyhound stations have cafeterias and places where they have extremely overpriced food, but some of them don't. So don't always think, well, when I get to the station I'm gonna eat, because some of them just have vending machines. Sometimes they don't work. So I always recommend having a bottle of water in your carry-on and like a bag of chips. So no matter what, if you get to a station and the cafeteria is closed, you still got some food to carry over to your next stop. Let's see. Talked about that. Talked about food and luggage connections. Okay, those are pretty much the main points. But some of the side points. Of course, long-term trip, you're going to run into a lot of different people. Your chances of sitting next to crazy people multiplies. So take the same safety tips, as always, and just be careful. Every bus you get on is a new opportunity to meet some new cool people to chill with, but then you'll also have those Greyhound people. So it's just always, be careful. You get on a bus and it looks shady sitting near the front. This is something I've started recently. Like, I always sit near the front now. I just like it better. But if it looks shady in the back, sitting near the front, when you're sometimes the longer you've been on the bus, I've noticed the more at ease people get with their luggage. And if you've gotten off the bus twice and left your carry-on in the overhead rack and nothing's happened to it, that doesn't mean something won't happen the third time. So always gauge the situation when you're getting on and off the bus, about what to do with your luggage, because someone new keyed on the bus and they might be eyeing your stuff. Also too, I'm a little leery when I'm on a long-term trip about telling people where I'm going, just because you may not want someone to know that you're going to be on the bus for 2 days, because that gives them a long time to scope you out. So little things, use your safety tips, be even more cautious. Just be wary. You're going to be in more stations. All Greyhound stations are different. Some are great, some are scary, some are clean, some are dirty. The cool part about riding Greyhound a lot is you start to learn this. So now, like when I go to buy a ticket, I'll be like, oh well, that means I have to go through here, blah blah blah. But first time out, you won't know this. But just realize you're even the scary ones. They usually have security guards, so you're going to be relatively safe, pretty safe, whatever station you're in. But just keep in mind, different parts of the country, different things happen. Always keep your eyes open, keep your eyes on your luggage. And, for me, I think the best thing to do is just, I just stare out the window and enjoy the scenery, enjoy seeing America. I mean, if you go on there with the mindset that I'm on this bus for 2 days, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So basically, I just look out the window, I enjoy the scenery. Occasionally, I talk, and I just, try to get to the next station. Just how long am I going to be on this bus? Try to get some sleep. Just I don't think about how long the trip is. I just enjoy the journey, and just like I said, try to get from station to station, from food break to food break to food break. You'll notice about a day in that you'll start to smell, get a little musty. Sometimes I'll go in the bathroom at the station and wipe off, brush my teeth. There's other stations that I've walked in the bathroom and ran out because it was so filthy, and I couldn't do that. So yeah, you will start to get a little musty the longer you're on the bus, and you won't smell as nice, and you're wearing the same clothes, and it'll get uncomfortable. But everybody else who's on the bus stinks too. So, so don't worry about it. Just do the best you can to clean up, and before you know it, you'll be at your destination, and you'll be able to look back at it and tell people how long you were on the bus, and they'll look at you like you're crazy. But like I said, it's a great experience. I've done it several times. I will admit, every time I do it, I say never again. But it's kind of one of those things. Once you jump into it, you're stuck until you get to your destination. And as always, like I said, the Greyhound is way cheaper, especially if you have to do a spur of the moment trip. You're looking at going cross country for $200 versus like $800 on a plane, or $1,000 on a train. So I'm a big advocate of Greyhound. And even though there are some issues, like I said, you can take a long trip. You can make it safely, and you can make it work for you. So I hope this video was informative. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comment box, and I'll get back with you. Thanks for watching. You'll have a good day.